is Paul Bosley.
Hey, Paul.
I'd like to introduce you to my team
Kimberly
as well.
Crossville.
Wow.
Nice to meet you. Thank you for your time.
Bailey.
Thank you for
Nice to
coming.
meet you. Bailey. Yeah, I'd like to thank you guys.
Sorry, one quick remark. You have 20 minutes now to talk. After that, I will interrupt you, and so we stop, and then the judges start with a 10-minute Q&A. I will hold signs up every time there's 5 and 2 minutes left, and then I'll stop because of fairness reasons. So if you don't have any more questions, I'll start the time. Okay, good to go? Good luck.
Yeah, I'd like to thank you guys personally for, I don't know what you guys are thinking about sacrificing such beautiful weather to come and watch us, but we do thank you guys. The client of the future, Team Romeo. We were presented with a case by Edward Jones, and the case is unique like no other because Edward Jones has to face, identify, attract, engage, and serve and retain a client like no other. And their client is the millennials, the generation of like no other. Today, the generation of the millennials is at 75 million people and is projected to peak at 80 million people, excuse me. Within the millennials, we see that it's unique in that it is diversity. It has an increase in Hispanics as well as Asian Americans. It has an increase in single-parent families as well as same-sex families and non-traditional families. This draws another problem because these people are younger than any generation before. They have different mindsets, they have different thoughts and perceptions as well as values and views. And I would like to present to you guys our solution. Our solution is a threefold solution that has to be implemented simultaneously in order for greater success. Part A is to rebrand and shift the focus. Part B is to implement a student debt lifetime resolution. And Part C is to expand social media and communication flexibility. I'd like to turn it over now to my colleague Kim to go over Part A.
So the first part in our solution is to rebrand. The main thing that we believe needs to be rebranded within Edward Jones is its client website. The website had a lot of great aspects. It was very professional and it was well organized. However, whenever my teammate and I first looked at it, we kind of think yellow pages. The bright, bold yellow color, boxes with straight edges, and seems maybe a tad bit outdated. As you can see with my screenshots here on the left. As compared to one of Edward Jones' competitors, Morgan Stanley, I have some screenshots on the right. At their homepage, you can see it immediately gives the impression of innovation, modernity, the future. According to a Forbes article, the millennial generation is more interested in non-traditional forms of advertising. They aren't as trusting of traditional forms of advertising as the boomers were. So when you further scroll down on the website, the client website of Edward Jones, you see more boxes, more gray, more yellow, and not very much interactive interface. As opposed to on Morgan Stanley, as you scroll down, you see something that's very interactive. It almost seems similar to something like Pinterest. It has a lot of articles that are very relevant to the millennial generation and diverse populations that are emerging. We believe that in order for Edward Jones to attract and attain this new client of the future, they need to rebrand the design of their client website. In addition to the design, we believe that Edward Jones can better showcase the diversity of their client website as well. Again, on the left, I have more photos of the client website of Edward Jones. And on the right, I have some screenshots of the employee website of Edward Jones. The employee website immediately gives an atmosphere of inclusivity and diversity. As you can see in the photos, many of these people are diverse, of diverse origin. It's also much more interactive with videos and other things like that that are more modern. We believe that Edward Jones should shift the focus of their client website, which is currently focused on middle-aged Caucasian families. In order to capture this client of the future, they should showcase the diversity they have on their employee website, on their client website as well. In addition to rebranding, we believe that Edward Jones needs to have a shift of focus. Currently, there are many emerging minorities in the population, one of which is the Hispanic population. Currently comprises 3.5% of the population, and that is projected to increase to 29% by the year 2050. made by the New York Department of Consumer Affairs. A sample of the population of Mexican immigrants of 443 was taken. And of these 443, 57% did not utilize financial services. And this represents a huge opportunity for Edward Jones to take advantage of. The first thing that I would like to talk about as far as their new marketing strategy for these Hispanics is that simply changing the language from English to Spanish is not enough. They must take into consideration the cultural differences with the Hispanic population. For instance, the Hispanic population actually has a higher financial confidence rating by 3 points as compared to the general population. They also have a higher average retirement age of 3 years as compared to the general population. And 17% of the Hispanic population have no idea whether or not their employee matched contributions to retirement plans. In addition, the Hispanic population has multi-generational households are very popular. For instance, 1 in 6 Hispanic individuals provide for a parent financially, which is something that does not occur in our population. So how does Edward Jones use these differences to adapt their marketing strategy? We believe one example would be the higher financial confidence means that they may be more likely to invest with Edward Jones due to that positive outlook. In addition, their lack of knowledge in regards to retirement plans displays a need for financial advising that Edward Jones can fill. And also, the Hispanic population is very debt averse, which means that they would likely be very interested in education as far as lines of credit and credit cards and other things like that Edward Jones can also provide to them. In order for Edward Jones to secure a client base in the future, they must shift their focus to these emerging minorities. And now I'm going to shift it over to Delaney, who's going to talk about our second phase.
So our second phase of our threefold plan is specifically looking at the student debt issue. So just to summarize today's standing as far as student debt in the United States, there are 44.2 million Americans with student debt. This makes up almost 60% of the total 75 million millennials we have today. And according to the New York Federal Reserve, as shown by the top graph, the amount of student debt has nearly quadrupled in the past 10 years. This is substantial and has reached an all-time high of $1.31 trillion as of 2016. This is a financial crisis that needs to be addressed. This also is steadily increasing. The amount of tuition just goes into this even more, and the debt continues to rise, which also shows the 70% of college students graduating with debt, and the average is about $37,000 as of now. So why should Edward Jones care? We believe Edward Jones has a major opportunity with this financial crisis. If they recognize that from these statistics, 70% of borrowers have delayed saving for retirement, 75% have delayed buying a home, and over 40% have delayed starting a family. Edward Jones' philosophy is long-term investment. If they want to focus on their long-term investment and provide their normal services that they have right now, such as wealth management and doing these financial commitments and helping people with their financial commitments, we can see the millennials are putting off these decisions. They are delaying these because of their debt. If the debt is not addressed, Edward Jones has a high likelihood of losing clientele in the future when they won't have the money to invest in retirement plans. So this is also a substantial impact on the economy. With $1.31 trillion, that's a lot of money not going back into our economy. This could create a huge lull in our economy in the future and hampers the future consumers that we have, so they're not putting that money back into our economy and not fueling it. So this is a great opportunity for Edward Jones to recognize this issue, be proactive, and this should be a concern for everyone to address this problem and lessen the burden on millennials. For example, if they help educate the over 45% of millennials who don't know the portion of their paycheck that goes towards their longer payment, and the unfortunate 15% that don't even know how much they owe. So we believe that Edward Jones can attract and serve these potential clients with a debt resolution plan. So our solution, we've titled it the Student Debt Lifetime Resolution. We've made this a 5-year student debt repayment plan that has aspects of retirement plan, portfolio investments, and college savings for future generations if they wish to start a family in the future. So over the first 5 years, the return for Edward Jones will be low, but we believe this is an exponential growth over time. The first 5 years, not a huge return, but over that time, that's when you're building those strong relationships that Edward Jones is known for, building that loyalty with these millennials by noticing that they care about reducing their student debt and gaining that trust so that when they begin to have more money to invest, they'll put it into retirement plans, they'll put it into portfolio investments, and this will become lifetime clients for Edward Jones. Now I'll turn it over to Pavel.
Thank you. Our third and final step is to expand social media as well as communication flexibility. The first part of this is to expand the social media. While Edward Jones currently does have a presence in social media, they don't use it to the full extent as their competitors do. For example, we've pulled from Bank of America, Instagram, and Pinterest, two of the social media outlets that Edward Jones is currently lacking. These are important because today when a millennial goes onto Pinterest and sees something attractive like 6 steps to prepare for a family, or ways to reduce costs in college, they can pin that and automatically all their friends can see that and it's very attractive for them and they can then press on that and it takes them directly to the website. Once on the website, that is now they're officially, you could say for lack of a better phrase, on the hook. As well as another important part is Bank of America. Why Bank of America we chose because one of the most recent posts that they posted is of a young woman who traveled abroad to Ghana. And upon in Ghana, she found the love of her life. And when she found the love of her life, she shared this testimony. And she said that it was made possible due to the financial support and advisement of Bank of America. This is very important because, like mentioned before, according to Forbes, millennials not only want to have that professional relationship with their advisors, they want to have a personal relationship, a value, a sense of a better good. And this is just one of the 2 ways that they could expand it to all the millennials. And now I'm going to turn it over to Bailey to take over the second part of it.
Continuing, we came together and thought, how can we not only attract, but expand the client in the future? We decided that we would recommend implementing an employee and a client diversity spotlight. Now this spotlight would contain a short biography about the individual, how the individual exhibits a core value of Edward Jones, and as well as a factor that makes them diverse. Now we really feel that this will appeal to millennials as a factor, or as an importance of diversity. We also saw through your website, you have an abundance of information on this as well as your philanthropic causes. Now we decided to use this as a marketing tool. We felt it was untapped, and the information is already there, the content is there. We just need to post it on social media so millennials who really value this will be able to come to it and interact with it and really be able to see how the company is really affecting their community. The next, we thought, how can we increase communication flexibility? Now, millennials prefer non-traditional forms of communication. Edward Jones must emphasize to the advisors the importance of being available at non-traditional times. Now, we thought that it would be best, or we recommend implementing a more innovative option of communication for the millennials. We thought of a 24/7 live engaged chat software available through your website that would be available for quick information that a prospective client might need or anything of that nature. Now this is used by companies like Microsoft as well as Adobe. So it's an accredited software that you can use on your website. We would also recommend an option of a video chat, such as Skype. Now we recommend this after the first face-to-face experience with the advisor. Once the first face-to-face communication has been established, the relationship has begun, they can then use this solely when the client desires. It's more of a flexibility and availability tool that we feel would really appeal to the millennial generation. However, with that, we see that there could be an issue as far as technology. Now, we all know that technology is not the best thing, and there are issues with it. However, we would rely on the reputation that Edward Jones is known for, and the advisor would keep in contact with the client throughout the issue and really be available further on, regardless of any complications they might face. And with that, I'd like to turn to Paulo to conclude.
In conclusion, if Edward Jones really takes this threefold process and implements it simultaneously, they will not only be able to at the same time identify and attract, but as well as engage, serve, and retain the millennial generation. They will be able to identify that millennials, they have those Hispanics increasing, they have those Asian American population increasing, and they'll be able to identify they are different. And not only will they be able to identify that they are different, they'll be able to identify with them by changing and adapting to them. They'll be able to attract them through our options of rebranding the website. They'll be able to attract them through new social media outlets, as well as showcasing this diversity, the philanthropy, with greater availability and the new communication styles as mentioned before. They'll be able to engage constantly with their clients through forms of more often video chat conferences, with more often client spotlight. Currently, the website, like mentioned, was really focused heavily more on the advisors and the employees and the diversity there, and not so much on the diversity of the clientele, as well as engaging with them in a 24/7 online chat. Like Bailey mentioned, this doesn't have to necessarily be only to the clients. This would be more focused and steered towards potential clients. Like if I press on that Pinterest and it takes me to the website and I don't get the information there, I can quickly message one of the advisors or someone, even an assistant, and ask, can I get some more information on this topic? Now, if the advisor takes advantage of that and replies to this potential millennial generation with that information that they need, they can then set that first face-to-face meeting, and they are now a new client. They will be able to continue to serve the millennial generation with the student debt lifetime resolution debt repayment and new information on social media. While this first 5 years, it'll be just basically for majority serving the millennial generation. According to that Forbes magazine, this is very important because millennials, they're shown to be more needy people than generations before. And while this service is provided, and finally, most importantly, you're able to retain this lifelong relationship by implementing this three-step strategy. Thank you. I'd now like to open the floor to any questions.
Thank you. I had a question. So on the rebranding, you were talking about the website, which was super exciting because I was part of the strategy team for our career side. So when you were talking about that, I was like, hey.
Yeah,
I thought thinking about that.
You're spot on.
Yeah. But you focused in on Hispanics in particular. Did you look at other demographics? Is Hispanics just an example, or is that a recommendation? And if so, why?
Hispanics, we did look at other minorities as well. I looked at the research study that I looked at from the New York Department of Consumer Affairs highlighted 3 minorities. It was Mexican immigrants, Ecuadorian, and Asian. And of all of those 3 minorities, the one that showed the biggest market that had yet to be tapped was the Mexican immigrants.
Okay.
Yeah, because I didn't have the graphic that I had up, I just cropped out the Mexican immigrant portion, but for the Asian immigrants, it was a similar population size of approximately 400, but as opposed to 57 of the Mexican immigrants who were not using financial services currently, only 5% of the Asian immigrants were not using financial services. So the Asian Americans and the Ecuadorian immigrants were, I would say, more financially educated, it seemed, and so we believe that the Hispanic immigrants had the greatest opportunity.
Okay. Thank you. I really like your student debt resolution, lifetime resolution plan. That was really...
That'd be the SDLR, please.
Yes, that's
Come on now,
I can't
keep
quite
up.
get the acronyms. I'm clearly not a millennial.
Once again, we're here to help and advise them.
I appreciate that. I was just curious, did you do any research on companies that currently have a plan like that, or?
Yeah, a lot of them are refinancing, but that's not what we wanted to focus on. We wanted it to be more of a plan like the other services that Everjohn currently provides. We didn't think refinancing was the best option because that does put a lot of risk on the company. So we wanted it to be more of a loan process, and developing through that time of paying off their debt, their advisor can start talking to them about retirement plans and all of that so they can begin to invest and increase that as their debt is paid off.
Did you discuss any ideas about how you go about getting in front of the folks with that, and, in order to have that conversation?
Yeah, going off that, we actually did. The main thing we were focusing on is Edward Jones right now currently does visit college campuses. They participate like Bottom Line for Diversity conferences. They host their own conferences. And I believe that this isn't like a refinancing. You're not offering a credit card, but instead you're offering an educational program. To come into a university to talk with them, I believe that a relationship could be made to where you're coming in and giving a workshop. And then once through this workshop, it's like an advertising, but it'd be pitched as a workshop.
Okay.
I'm just curious from the standpoint of rolling out your idea, did you guys talk about any sort of timelines or contingencies if the plan does not meet certain milestones down the road in terms of timing and cost, return on investment?
Well, as far as the social media aspect that I talked about, most of the content is already available on your guys' website. It's just the fact of switching over to social media and really spotlighting it for people to see and interact with and know that you guys, or that Edward Jones does, in fact, affect the community in a positive way and really show that. So,
On the topic of the rebranding the website, you don't want to go, we advise not going very drastically because Edward Jones still has baby boomers, and that for baby boomers can in a way scare them. So that would have to transition at the rate that the baby boomers are transitioning into millennials. And then on the topic of the returns on the investment, you want to talk about the calculation that you did on average?
So we came up with an example for the debt repayment as if you have a student or a college graduate that had $25,000 in debt, you add $5,000 for interest, they have $30,000 total. If they're paying that off in 5 years, that's 60 months, so it's about $500 per month. That's obviously a really pretty simple example, but it's hard to come up with exact numbers. We've shown the exponential growth over a period of 40 years, so those were pretty much the biggest numbers.
Yeah, and adding on to that, why the refinance option won't work as successfully, because now they're going from owing one person money to owing Edward Jones money. And the moment they pay that off, they want nothing to do with Edward Jones. They want, they want something else. But if it's just fostering a relationship over 5 years, and they see that Edward Jones successfully helped them pay off a large chunk of their debt, they now trust Edward Jones. They now want to invest into retirement plans. They now want to invest, they'll be lifetime loyal customers.
You talked about culturally adapting the website as well. So how are we going to drive to the Mexican population that you discussed? We nail the site. It's perfect. It's like the employee side of the website, which is fantastic. Of course. How are we going to drive that clientele to that site to make that pay off for us?
I believe that the social media presence will have a lot to do with it because there are, on average, the Hispanic population is also about the same age as the millennial generation. They're on average between 33 and 35, the immigrant population. And so I believe that if we post links to, such as the link that he showed of Bank of America that creates that connection, and then it'll have a link within it that has a link to the website itself, and then that will transfer them to the website. And I think that's probably how we'll start to increase the traffic. And I think that once the traffic is increased and the website has been rebranded to, make it seem like when they are there, they feel like they belong. They feel like that this is, talking to them. It's not just talking to middle-aged Caucasian families. I think that that will really start to get the ball rolling.
And it would, to continue going, the strategy they have right now is when a new advisor comes in, they have an organic plan where they follow basically word of mouth one by one. But right now, if I invite one of my Hispanic friends and they come and they look at this website and they see it's traditionally targeting Caucasians, they won't be so attracted and wanting to remain there. As well as globalization, we know that through social media sites, while cultural differences still exist in diversity, it's becoming more and more united to one American-like culture. So through social media sites, that really is a second way to portray that to the Hispanic culture.
You identified an interesting sort of service conflict. I'm interested in how you think we might bridge that gap. We're primarily face-to-face advisors or maybe phone advisors. But millennials want 24-hour access. So if I introduce the concept of chat or 24-hour help, how do I connect that and keep the advisor at the center of that relationship as opposed to some other solution?
Right, so we looked at it as those are an option for the client. Once they establish a face-to-face relationship, it's solely up to the discretion of the client if they want to use those options to communicate. They don't have to. They can stay face-to-face if they like to, but solely as to increase flexibility and have better options as far as communicating with their advisor.
And to clarify on the 24/7 thing where you're going off, the 24/7 thing wouldn't be for all on-call advisors right away, so I wouldn't be able to reach my advisor immediately at 24/7. For current clients or new clients, they would need to be able to reach their advisors more non-traditional hours, so not the typical 8 to 5. Because I know, for example, I'd be coming on a Friday evening at 5 o'clock and I need to make a small business decision for my small business, but I know it's 5 o'clock and my advisor on a Friday evening is probably away. But I'd like to have on that Friday afternoon be able to FaceTime them or send them a text message, be like, hey, can you quickly advise me on this decision? Is this a wise decision or not? Versus the 24/7 thing would be for someone who just comes to the website and more basic questions. That wouldn't be to be able to discuss confidential information.
Okay, just play back with it. So the advisors would still work traditional hours, but just be more accessible through Skype or other methodologies. A little more robust so you can share screens and things like that.
Correct.
Be happening that way. Okay.
I would think an option for the 24/7 chat would be to have the normal weekday work hours be held, the chat be done by the current staff, but on the odd hours on weekends or really late, really early, that could be done by either hiring it out. And so it's an option of doing it kind of a half and half, having your own employees do part of it and hiring out the other part, or completely hiring out. So there's a few options with the 24/7.
Did you see any change that had to be made with our existing financial advisor population as a result of the recommendations?
I don't think so. I think the biggest thing was just how on the recruiting side, you guys are really good at focusing on the diversity and inclusion of your staff. So it did seem like there is a very diverse amount of financial advisors working for Edward Jones. It's just exemplifying and really showing that to your clients. Like seeing it as, oh, I want to work for them, but that's definitely enticing. But if somebody's not interested in gaining a job, it's important to show that to your clients as well. So it wasn't really that they had a diversity problem. It seemed like they had a lot. It was just we had to Google search it. It was information that was not as easily accessible and not as open to millennials as it should be to really gain their loyalty.
Okay, anything else? That was great.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much.
We appreciate it.
No worries. Thank you.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks so much. Oh, yeah, I think that. Yeah, if you don't mind, just wait down in a notch, please, until we get served lunch.